The Pistons are the basketball champions of the world.
Detroit, it's time. It's playoff time, Detroit. Let's go to work.
Shout out Detroit. I got to buff up, you know what I'm saying? Detroit, I'm all the way in. Detroit Pistons, I'm all the way in. Let's do it.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Buff Stomp Podcast. We are the best POD in the 313. We got a special one for you guys today. We're going to rank the last decade of Pistons basketball. We're going to rank each season, and we want to know what you guys think. We've been fans for a minute. Gabe and Valley are with me today. They're going to be doing a lot of the talking today because I wasn't able to watch from like 2008 till 2019 because I lived in Arizona. But I'll pitch in when I can. But I'm going to hand it over to Gabe. Gabe, start us off with the season that you think had a lot of great moments in it.
Yeah, I'll start by saying I had a lot of moments. I don't know if they were great or not. This is the 14-15 season, so we're going back 11 years here, but it is a nice decade cutoff. And I think the two biggest things that happened this season, first of all, we went 32-50. That was kind of the average record of I'll say the quote unquote Greg Monroe era in Detroit, my favorite player. But this season started really bad, and then we waived the huge signing from the past few years, Josh Smith. And immediately we won 7 straight games in a row and 12 of 15, and we're on a roll. And then, of course, Jennings tore his Achilles, and that essentially ended not only our season, but his career. So those are the two biggest things that happened that year. Aside from that, we also drafted Spencer Dinwiddie, who, as we know, never really had a role on our team, but great in the NBA. And we also traded for Reggie Jackson that year, who actually played really well and would continue to play really well. Little fun fact about this season: the biggest loss and the biggest win occurred against the Charlotte Hornets, as it does. I have nothing else about those games. Val, you have anything to add about that season?
Yeah, I actually had this season a lot higher in my ranking solely because it was really fun. And I'm gonna focus on just the fun at first because watching Brandon Jennings, I haven't seen another player like Brandon Jennings in the NBA, and I don't think we will, just based on his size and stature. Upstairs in my closet right now, got a Brandon Jennings jersey hung up there. The original lefty number 7 point guard I was obsessed with on the Pistons. But this guy was a mix between an NBA player and like a street baller. He played such really fun basketball. Like every single time, it's like, okay, I'm sitting down. I'm going to watch the Pistons for the next 2 hours, and I'm going to watch Brandon Jennings because he gets me out of my seat. Before we had the Cade to Asar off the backboard alley-oop, we had the Brandon Jennings to Andre Drummond off the backboard alley-oop, which would happen quite consistently. However, this season would probably be one of my top 3 seasons in the last decade, had obviously the Achilles tear to Brandon Jennings not happened. In that game, in fact, he threw one off the glass to Andre Drummond, and the crowd went crazy.
Yeah.
Such a fun player. Amit, you were talking about potentially doing the jerseys. We wrapped the Motor City jerseys, the dark blue ones, off the top of my head this year. Like those a lot with the sleeves. I thought they were pretty cool. It's a damn shame what happened with Brandon Jennings, but I think the Jennings Drummond 2-man game, and then also one more positive I think from this season was because of the injury to Jennings, we went out and we acquired Reggie Jackson. And I don't really care what anyone has to say. Reggie Jackson, I think, to me, is a Piston legend. So we unfortunately had an injury that lost a really exciting player, but trickle down effect, we got Reggie Jackson for the next 6 years or so after that injury.
Another exciting player that I used to be obsessed with, Anthony Tolliver, joined our team right at the beginning of that
And
7-game win streak.
when we acquired him, we were playing 2K in the basement, and it was me and you, and we traded him for Tony Mitchell, and we knew Tony Mitchell because he could jump really high and dunk in 2K. And then we got Tolliver, who was just automatic in 2K, and it was just like, how do we do that? What a fleece, and what a fleece it was.
So for me, this season actually ranks really low, I think, just because of the blow of losing Jennings and waiving Josh Smith, who was the first like real star signing while we were watching the Pistons. We'll go over it at the end, the overall rankings, but I have this basically bottom 2 seasons just because I was absolutely heartbroken when Jennings went down and ended his career essentially.
Still comes to some Pistons Bucks games. Brandon Jennings still has some love for the city though for sure.
Valley, where do you rank this
He's
one?
also pretty vocal on social media sometimes too about like Detroit. So he didn't lose his passion for the city, I don't think.
I never said where I rank this out of the last decade, which is technically what 11 seasons now. I actually ranked this at number five. Again, I thought this was a really fun season, and it's easy to not focus on the negatives being 10 years away from this or 10 years out of this. And I think I can say what a fun season it was, and that's why I have it pretty high at five.
All
So
right, moving
Gabe keeping
on.
it simple by putting him at the bottom, and Valley puts us right in the middle at five.
Yeah, moving on then to next year, and Valley kind of started the conversation here where we acquired Reggie Jackson last year, and he really came into his own this year. We ended with a record of 44 and 38, which was actually a really good record to only get the eighth seed. We ended the current longest streak of missing the playoffs, but and then fought a tough series against Cleveland, but we did get swept. Some iffy ref calls in that one as well. But I did not watch a lot of those playoffs. I was working as a delivery driver at the time, and I could not watch the games. But I really like this season. Obviously, first playoffs since we started watching in 2010, 2011. Two of my favorite guys were on this roster, Steve Blake and Reggie Bullock. We also had the charge master Ersan Ilyasova.
Was Tolliver on that team too?
Tolliver was on that team
A hell of a
still.
1-2 charge punch right there.
We also drafted the Stanimal that year, Stanley Johnson, and Drummond also had his first breakout year and became an all-star that year. I thought this was a really fun year. Um, we played really well. You lose to the eventual champs, but I think coming off this year, the thought next year, much like the year we had now, is okay, we're a young team, we're improving, we have a point guard and big man core, and we're gonna excel this into the future. I believe we also had KCP, who was really coming into his own at that time. So for me overall, I mean, this was my second favorite season since in the last decade. I loved everything about it. Valley, any disagreements or additions?
This is my third highest ranked season of the last decade, actually. I want to hammer home that point of Andre Drummond really taking a big leap this year. And I think why it's so high this season in particular is because the excitement we were left with once the season ended. Taking Cleveland to four games like that, taking Cleveland to four doesn't sound like much, but I think every single game was 4 points was the largest separation between a victory, I think.
I think it was close.
It was really close was the point. And I think there was just so much encouragement from this season. Stan Van Gundy, loved Stan Van Gundy, funny guy. Really had this team working hard. I think Andre Drummond at the time even said how much he loved playing for Stan Van, although that would his opinion would change on that. But I think this season as a whole was really, really fun. And I love the balanced effort of this. I'm just gonna quickly tell you some points per games from our guys. 14.5 from KCP, 14 from Marcus Morris, 16.5 from Uncle T. Andre Drummond averaged 16 and 15. Was up there. He was All-NBA third team. Reggie Jackson almost 19 a game. Even Ersan, double digits, 11 a game. This team was pretty dang solid. This team won 44 basketball games. That's something we haven't done since this season. Really, really impressive. I think that just seeing a fun team, having hope for a team, and seeing the two-man game specifically of Reggie Jackson and Andre Drummond was really, really, really special. Aaron Baines, funny guy, I loved him.
Jody Meek,
Jody Meeks. I want to.
one of my personal heroes.
I would love to give like a memory of each season, and my memory for this 15-16 season. Um, Last game of the season, Pistons Cavs. Everybody rests. Joel Anthony goes crazy and gets 8 block shots off the bench. I have a few random usernames called it Shot Blocker Joel 50. I used to love that guy too. I had this as my third highest season, the 15-16 season.
Jordan McRae also dropped 36
Yeah,
in that
bucket getter. Oh, that was a good game.
Ahmed, do you have anything on this year?
No, I don't. I do remember liking Ersan Ilyasova from afar. I saw that we acquired him, so I was pretty happy about that. But Besides that, I wasn't able to watch much that season.
Were you all aware of the Ersan conspiracy theory?
Yeah, he's like he looked way older than Ben.
Pretty convincing
That's
evidence if you ever bored, go and look that up. But should we move on to the 17-18 year?
Yeah. Actually the 16-17 year,
16-17.
we ended 37 and 45, decent record, but a bit of a disappointment coming off how well we played last year. This was also the last season at the Palace of Auburn Hills. And before the
For that
season,
reason solely, it's at the bottom of my list. I missed the Palace.
that's fair. That's fair. We drafted Henry Ellenson this year. And we re-signed Drummond to a 5-year, 130 maximum deal, which in this day and age is, that's chump change, but back then it was a huge deal. We also traded away Anthony Tolliver and signed John Lure this year. So really not much happened, I think. I think Reggie Jackson struggled with some ankles, some knee stuff. For me, it's a middle of the pack year. Greg Monroe was still doing this. No, he wasn't. That's past his time, but we're still winning a decent amount of games, and we're ninth seed this year, so it's interesting. We would have been in the play-in. So for me, it's like square in the middle at number 5.
I had this one down at 8 because it was a pretty big disappointment. I very strongly remember Gabe and Connie sharing a Bleacher Report article with me over the summer that we were projected to win 50 games, and I thought, oh, that makes total sense. We just had this crazy good season. We took Cleveland, on a really difficult run. We competed with them. A big leap is coming. The fact that that leap didn't come is the reason why I have this season so low. And as Gabe just said, we replaced Anthony Tolliver with John Lure. Massive mistake. And loved Anthony Tolliver. Losing him made me sad, and that's another reason why I have this at 8 in the last decade of seasons.
I'll probably go lower as well then for that reason. Anything to add on it?
I remember trading John Lure and how happy I was for the 30th pick from the Bucks. I think that pick turned out to be Porter Jr.
Wasn't he a Sun in your time of being a Phoenix Suns fan then?
That I don't remember. I was just a kid, so I just remember like the big names. I remember I fell in love with Steve Nash. Shaq was there when I was there, so I was lucky for that. Sean Marion became my favorite just because he shot so weird, and I loved it.
Were any of those guys really better than John Lure
though? Maybe. Well, that's a debatable topic.
All right, so you have 16-17 at what?
I guess I have it lower than 5th. I'll put it like 7-8 range, yeah. Moving on then to next year, 17-18. We improved win percentage a little bit. We went 39-43. And the big thing this year is that we traded for Blake Griffin. We traded a lot of things for him. Personally, I like the trade a lot because Blake Griffin was an absolute superstar at this time, and we needed that thing in Detroit, and he was awesome. He wasn't as good as he'd be next year, which we'll get to later, but we also swapped Marcus Morris for Avery Bradley, which at the time I liked as well, but hindsight was not very good. We drafted Luke Kennard that year, pretty good. And then Drummond also averaged like 15, 16, 3 assists, a block and a half, steal and a half, and made his first All-Star game. Maybe his second All-Star game. Yeah, second All-Star game after a year off last year. So again, I was high on. I remember there were some times where I knew the team sucked, and I just watched Andre Drummond put up crazy stats, especially against the Pacers. And this was also the year that once it was done, we fired Stan Van Gundy as the coach and GM, even though we did all right. So for me, this is it's a pretty good season. I think I have it as a 4th best, and just because I love Blake Griffin on this team while he was healthy, and I love Drummond when he was still a positive asset and wanted to play basketball.
This 17-18, right?
Yeah.
This season was tough. I think the expectation was to get into the playoffs. That's why we traded for Blake Griffin, right? But it was still really fun to see a player of the caliber of Blake Griffin represent for the Pistons. Really fun moments in his short time here. And I think it was kind of a getting used to Detroit kind of time period as well. Had some settling in period before his big next season, which I'm sure we'll get into. Um, but this season, I wrote down, yeah, acquiring Blake Griffin is the reason it's so high. The excitement of having Blake Griffin. You still have Andre Drummond. Cool to have that 4-5 combo. But I guess I could have gone in any season with this, but I just wanted to make a note. Ish Smith was so fun to watch, man. Ish Smith is one of the most
I miss
electric backup point guards I've probably ever seen in my life. Um, Fantastic player, just a really fun player, and I just wanted to shout out Ish Smith once when we're going over the last decade of these seasons because he was a big member for us over the last decade, Ish Smith.
He was. I fell in love with Ish Smith when I saw him play basketball, just full go all the time.
So
And after that Blake trade, yeah, go ahead.
no, I just
It
wanted
was
to
so fast.
was
Yeah,
just
he was.
agreeing with you. He's so fast, yeah.
Yeah, he's so fast. He was so fast, and it kind of like reminded me of like how I would like to play, just like not stop, just go all the time. And I love how like he would run towards the baseline and then circle back out, and I'm just like, wow, he just like did that. That's so cool. Like most people passed it, but Ish didn't pass it. But I fell in love again. I had gotten into U of M Dearborn in September of 17, and I think we got Blake in January of 18. So that was my kind of like, oh my gosh, I can watch Pistons basketball again. That totally flipped my mind. Yeah, watching Blake here was probably like I fell in love with Blake Griffin just to the point where I actually got a Blake Griffin jersey. I got one of those red jerseys with the blue
Nice.
stripes down the middle. I was like, red jersey, Blake Griffin. I got to do it. So yeah, that was my kind
Where's that?
of return to Pistons basketball.
Where's that rank in your all-time Pistons jerseys? Is it up there? I feel like that one got
Um,
mixed reviews. I was a big fan of that one, honestly.
I did not hate that one, but I'm a huge fan of red jerseys because I loved the red jerseys that the Pistons had back when like
You-
Chauncey, Ben, Rip were here. So I think I had like a Chauncey one and a Ben one and a Rip one at one time, and Tayshaun, I think. So that was like the first red jersey we had since I could recall, and I was really loving the Blake Griffin deal. So I was like, I got to do it. So I would say that's probably it's lower on my list, but I'd say it's maybe 5 or 6 for me. Those red jerseys with the blue stripes, but yeah, Blake coming here was it was kind of a head scratcher. I think like a lot of us thought like, why are we giving like? Of course, we gave up Pistons legend Boban Marjanovic, which I hated with all of my heart. I miss Boban. Um, but at the same time, like Stan said, and like you guys hinted at, like you get a player of the caliber of Blake Griffin in Detroit. Like you can't pass up on that opportunity. Granted, we should have because it put us so far in the hole. But Blake did deliver some great memories, as we'll get into.
Yeah, I remember when he got traded, I was working at Subway, and this guy came in who used to ref me in basketball, and he asked for light mayo. And he asked if I liked the trade, and I said, yeah. I said, no. We gave up two.
Nah,
Then he asked for more mayo. I remember that because he said I actually put on light mayo.
so
Anyway,
Mayo and Blake Griffin are forever intertwined.
next season, I think, was when Blake really had one of the best years of his careers, one of the best years of the Pistons in recent memory. We went 41 and 41 in the 18-19 season. Blake was all NBA third team. He was an all-star. He was fifth in MVP voting. He averaged like 25, 8 and 5 assists, and he was taking a lot of threes. And I remember I just loved his threes.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, the playoffs kind of ended really bad. We got swept by the Bucks. Blake couldn't play. We started like Thon Maker and some other guys. Versus Giannis
Thon
didn't
Maker.
end very well. But that was also the first year under Dwayne Casey. We drafted Bruce Brown that year. Drummond averaged a ridiculous 17, 16, 2 steals and 2 blocks almost, which is just insane. And then I think that was the year he tweeted Vucevic when he made the All-Star team over him. And then one of my personal favorite memories as a Pistons fan was Blake's 50-piece and one on Embiid to win that game in OT. Just a fantastic memory watching that in the car after the gym. So for me, this is probably my third highest season. It would have easily been even one if it didn't end so bad against the Bucks. So I have it just behind the other 15-16 playoff year.
Um, you mentioned this is my second best season of the last decade. I have this at number two. I have it right above the 15-16 season where he won 44 games, made the playoffs. That's my third. This is my two solely because of Blake Griffin. Holy crap. I think until Cade Cunningham, this was the best Piston. And honestly, that's a debate we can still have. This was the best individual Piston season we've seen since, in my opinion, Isaiah Thomas. I think if you look at the numbers, with the going to work guys, it was obviously more spread out by nature. So if you're just looking solely in terms of box score watching, there's a debate that this Blake Griffin season was the best since Zeke.
At least Grant Hill.
At least Grant Hill for sure. But that 50 piece against Philadelphia, I'll never forget the inbound fake handoff, shuffled his feet like crazy and traveled, and then
the off
and the off arm, and one. The adrenaline rush, I think, lasted in me like 4 hours after that. Probably didn't even get to bed at like a ridiculous time.
I think we started 3-0 in the season because of that.
I do think we
right?
did
Yeah.
start 3-0. We had a pretty good start to that season, which was somewhat fool's gold. But genuinely, just solely because of Blake Griffin, this season is so high for me. Very, very unfortunate with the way it ended. I think it's still such a controversial thing where Blake Griffin stands with Pistons fans. Do you guys want to quick do a mini divergent onto that as to where
I
you
was gonna bring it up. Yeah.
I freaking hated this dude's guts watching him play for Brooklyn and throw down alley-oops and taunt our bench. And after the way he played in his last season with us, where it was just like, dude, I understand you want to get bought out. But at the same time, it's like, after more reflection time and years, it's like, dang, he really put it all on the line. He destroyed his knee for us. Maybe that's just solely how he was looking. But I feel like in his last season with the Pistons when we bought him out, I feel like he wasn't trying, which is not cool. And so I resented him for a long time afterwards, and then he came back and got into it with Stu. Um, and I think I resented him, but I think at this moment in time, I'm back to the. I think I'm back in the pendulum swinging towards. I really appreciate what Blake did for us, and I would not call him a Detroit legend, a Pistons legend, but I respect everything he did for this organization.
100%.
You guys stand on
Blake,
Blake.
I'm not angry at him really at all. Like you said, he put his knee on the line just to get us to the first round of the playoffs and get us swept.
And he played in game 4 and gave it his all in that game
He
4.
he did. So I have tremendous respect for Blake for what he did, and he really rejuvenated my love for Pistons basketball. So I can't really be too upset with him. Did he not try at the beginning of 2020? I think that was the season we bought him out. But yeah,
He was just chucking up
probably.
threes. His numbers that year, I swear, he were probably like both of his splits were in the 30s.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, I don't think he was trying at all, and I did not like how he taunted us. Like, why are you getting into it with Sadiq and Stu? Like, come on, man. There's no point. But at the same time, he did put his knee on the line for us, so I respect it. Gabe, your thoughts?
Yeah, like Barry said, I didn't like him at all when he played for Brooklyn and Boston afterwards. But once your team starts to win again, a lot of hard feelings go out the window. And like Valley said, I just love to watch this guy play basketball. His post-ups were the most. If I was an opposing fan and I saw him just stick his arm into the guy he was guarding and slowly post him up under the rim, I would be so mad. But I just loved watching it. So yeah, I'm big pro Blake Griffin. I would agree he's not a Pistons legend because he didn't win anything. It wasn't his fault. The team was bad around him, but yeah.
His usage rate must have been insane. Random memory off the top of my head from this season, other than the 50 bomb and the N1. His game against Houston, he had one of the bounciest putback dunks on his own.
Yeah.
Really cool stuff.
Off of a missed free throw. Like, I've never seen Blake jump that high as a Piston.
And I want to really note the development that Blake had this year. His first year, he was like, "All right, I'm shooting threes." Like he was, investing in them. But I can pull it up. I think he was around 9 attempts a game from downtown.
Took a lot.
He hit a good percentage of them, which I think was really great to see. But we have about 7 minutes left on the timer. Should we just move on next season?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, so this is the 1920 season. This was a kind of like walkout year. We only played 66 games due to COVID. Yeah, we drafted Sekou. Had a lot of hope for that. Reggie and Blake were kind of injured this year, and so for me, this stands out as this is the Derrick Rose year. This is the Christian Wood have fun year.
That was fun.
Yeah, we went 20-46. So even if the season went on, I don't think we're gonna make the playoffs. Did not make it into the bubble.
We weren't far away, if I recall, because I remember Phoenix got in and they weren't crazy
I
back
remember I
then.
was thankful that we did not make it. I didn't have to watch this team anymore. Derrick Rose had a cool year. Other than that, it's really for me, it's this one is quite low, not only because COVID took away everything, including basketball, but also just wasn't much going on this year.
Hmm.
Yeah, this year I think was really dead because I think the realization hit that
The team.
although we were trying to be competitive, we didn't have the potential to really be competitive. And it was like, all right, we're gonna transition into being bad. Bruce Brown was really good this year, I thought. Something I want to note, rookie Sekou Doumbouya gave us some hope when he randomly came out of nowhere midway through the season. As I look through the
That
roster, there's so
poster was
many.
crazy.
What'd you say?
That poster, I think it was on the Cavs. It was
Tristan
absolutely
Thompson. Tristan
insane.
Thompson.
Yeah,
But looking at this roster, like you just see names like, man, that's a great guess that Piston. Um, I want to shout out Sima Mikhailuk. We traded for him this year. You guys know I'm a big Sima Mikhailuk fan to this day. But the reason I have this at 7, actually, so I have it above a few seasons, is solely because of how fun Christian Wood was to watch. Like he would just dunk everything, and I thought that was just really fun to watch. I enjoyed watching Christian Wood. I was devastated when we didn't re-sign him. Very famously, we signed Derrick Rose, and his quote when he signed for us was, "He thinks that we have a shot to come out of the East." Crazy that you can see Brandon Knight on this roster.
Oh, he was back.
Crazy guys like Jordan McRae, Markieff Morris, John Henson. If you haven't thought of John Henson in a long time, Dante Hall came off the bench for a few games.
Dante Hall.
Don't call me Turtle Frazier, Langston Galloway. Just some funny names I thought, and I think it's fun to reflect on the names that we've seen come in and out of this roster.
I
Any
love
any,
Derrick Rose
any
as a
fun
Piston.
memories from that season for you, Amit?
Anytime Derrick Rose touched the floor, I was
Game
locked in.
New
I
Orleans?
loved watching Derrick Rose. The Portland game winner, the New Orleans game winner was that
Yeah,
season. I think that was
yeah.
that season. That was crazy.
He had a cool
I
quote
loved watching.
after that too, I recall. I don't remember what it was, but it was some like
I do this shit.
that's what it was. I do this shit.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah.
pretty cool. Well then, after COVID came the 21-22 season, and wasn't a
The
very fun one.
2021 season came after
2021.
2021.
Jeez.
And we jumped right where we left off and we went another 20-52 season. I think this was the year Troy Weaver came in. So for me, this was quote unquote like where the rebuild starts. I think you guys can correct me. This was when we released Drummond. Am I right?
We traded him for I think like 2 second round picks to the Cavs
Okay.
or something. But I think that was a little before that. I don't
Yeah.
know if Troy.
I think that had to be before.
No, because he's on this roster.
Ooh, you're right. He was midway through the season.
Yeah, so um
Troy traded him. Wow, my
we,
timeline's all messed up.
Figuring that out right now.
we also
actually.
waived Blake this year. And we also
Yeah.
signed huh?
No Andre Drummond this year. That must have been halfway through the last season.
Okay. Well, yeah, these 2 years kind of blend together because of COVID. It wasn't really outside doing anything. So we got rid of Drummond the year before. Sad moment, but also good. I think he's also done a little bit of a 180 in Pistons fans' heart. We waived Blake Griffin this year. We brought in Jeremy Grant, who had a really good year statistically, even though he did take a few too many mid-range jumpers. We drafted
Plum dog.
Stu and Killian, I think one of the most famous draft classes in Pistons history. And I also want to shout
Don't
out
forget
Frank
Saban
Jackson
Lee.
because Frank Jackson was pretty fun this year.
He was.
Yeah, he was fun. He was fun.
You missed one name of the people we drafted in the core 4. My guy Saban Lee.
Sabo.
But I don't know. Do you have any more?
No.
This season to me was actually like a really fun season. I have this as my 4th highest season. Like this team has a special place in my heart for no reason. I think it's the fact that we officially were done with trying to, again, in quotations, air quotations, be competitive. And we were like, all right, we suck. Let's be bad. We shook off Blake Griffin, like you said. Isaiah Stewart came on after we started. Mason Plumlee, we saw him get more and more minutes as the season went on. Still, same with Bay. And obviously Killian Hayes had the keys to the organization, which I thought was, at least for the time, really fun. And we could be excited about that. Again, some fun names on here. I just want to say some names. Corey Joseph, Hamidou Diallo.
Corey Joseph is not fun.
Okay, he's not very fun, but Hamidou Diallo is a fun name, and another name that was actually really fun is Tyler Cook, another guy that couldn't do anything but dunk a basketball, much like Hamidou. Um, those guys were fun. Those COVID games with Derek Walton Jr. and Hamidou Diallo carrying us, like such a fever dream. It was such a fever dream. I need to watch those
That Spurs game where Sadiq hit the three in the corner.
Yeah. Moving forward after that 2020-21 season, an anticlimactic season, we had some technical difficulties. Valley, here we're going to finish up rating our Pistons season of the last decade. We still have the 21-22 season to go, the 22-23 season to go, the 23-24, and obviously the season just past 24-25. We're ranking our seasons of the last decade as the offseason has officially reached its long point. We're just going to move right on. Going to go into detail a little bit about why these seasons are where they are. Again, we just finished with the 2021 season, and just to recap, that was my fourth highest season. I want to say again how fun it was to officially have restarted after trying to just win and try to be competitive for what seemed like a decade before, but only having two sweeps to show for it. The Pistons finally turned a page and said, all right, we're tanking. We're going in. That was a fun season for me. Unfortunately, as many of you Pistons fans know, that 2021 season, that core, the quote unquote core four, as Troy Weaver called them, never really lived up to their fullest potential. Majority of those guys actually not in the NBA anymore. But the 21-22 season was certainly an interesting season in its own. The Detroit Pistons this year would win 23 games, a half decent team. And most importantly from this season, it was rookie year Cade Cunningham. And all of the media hype was there. And what we saw most importantly to build up toward that media hype was the summer league performance of Cade Cunningham. I think we all remember him having that nasty behind the back, sending Jalen Green going in the completely opposite direction before knocking down the three. Cade was to be our savior, and by all accounts, he really was coming into the season. Unfortunately, Cade had a lot of injury problems going into the season, and he had a really slow start. But over the course of the year, I think we saw some development of Cade Cunningham, and most importantly of the aforementioned core four. We saw Isaiah Stewart start 71 games out of 71, full-time step into a starter. However, it was interesting. He was at the five during this season for every single game he played, only shooting 0.9 3-pointers a game. Again, these seasons kind of tend to blend into one another, where we are now. But there were still a lot of really fun moments from this season, and especially for locals like myself who are from the Ann Arbor area, University of Michigan graduate. We drafted Isaiah Livers, really had some hype for the locals. But one thing I really want to make with every one of these seasons is something to hold on to, because again, like these seasons were, for the most part, ones as Pistons fans we want to look past. Kelly Olynyk, once a time a Piston. As Dwayne Casey once said, he has a man crush on Kelly Olynyk once we acquired him. And I just wanted to shout out one of my favorite plays from Kelly Olynyk and other plays of the years past against Charlotte. Game winner, long two, fading away on the baseline after getting a pass from Killian Hayes. Crazy names looking through these rosters as we ranked our seasons. But the 21-22 season can't be too high for me. But we did win 23 games. I'm going to rank this my ninth highest season of the last decade. The decade includes 11 years. We stretch it to make it so. So the 2021-22 season, again, one to forget, ranked ninth for me personally. And again, participate with us. Let us know what you think are some of the best seasons, some of the best memories, random memories. I have so much fun just looking back at these rosters and being like, damn, we really did play that guy, and we played him serious minutes, and our expectation wasn't to lose every single game we played. How foolish of us. But the 21-22 season, really showed that we were missing a lot of pieces. And although we would actually go backwards in our total win tally, we added a very big piece into this next season, the 22-23 season, which I actually ultimately were like 10 out of 11 in the last decade of Pistons basketball. This team won 17 games. Um, the reason I have this lower, me personally, I'm able to admit it now as a Killian believer. Um, I think the realization that he's not going to pan out as a solid NBA player really hit this year. What we did have this year was rookie Jalen Duren, and I think his dunking and interior presence, vertical presence was felt right away. Although we did have to earn those minutes, and he grew into his role. Jalen Duren was a really fun rookie to watch. He still plays very similarly, where he just wants to dunk everything, and that's something I think the Pistons we're crying out for at this point in time. With Jalen Duren coming into the team, I think a level of excitement came to me. With Isaiah Stewart moving to the four and really starting to be a stretch four, shooting threes, which I think was one of the most exciting things of the year for me. I remember a preseason game against Memphis where they didn't guard him, and he just said, "F you guys, I'm shooting every time." I think he got up 8 or 9 threes and hit a fair share of them. I'm a huge Isaiah Stewart fan. Seeing that development from him really was exciting, and it was a core piece to the process. And one really interesting thing we have to note with this roster. This was the rookie year of Jaden Ivey. Really, really exciting year of rookie Ivey. I think that this season kind of gets overshadowed because obviously Cade Cunningham unfortunately only played 12 games. It was kind of a dud year for Cade after having that slower start in the 21-22 season, although we did see glimpses of what we know Cade now is. But for a while, like, when Cade went down against Boston with that shin injury, which is something that was plaguing him up until this point in his career, his whole career. Getting Cade or losing Cade was just an ultimate blow, and that's the reason why this season can't be any higher. We were watching Killian Hayes forced to start every single game. This team was bad, and much like the season before, it's overshadowed by us waiting for a draft pick, waiting, and obviously ending up with the fifth pick, which would work out in our favor this time, and the year before. But the constant losing was really negative, and that's why this is the second worst season of the last decade for the Pistons. And the only reason it's the second worst season is because arguably the worst year of any team in the history of the NBA, certainly the worst year in the history of Pistons basketball, was the 23-24 season. Guys, we got to acknowledge it. I think it's good to look back at where we came from. A lot of hype, a lot of optimism after winning only 17 games because we got Monty Williams. And over the summer, it was, Monty's talking about the camaraderie of this team, how much they're working together. I was fully expecting Killian to be gone at this point or have a significantly reduced role. But still, Monty, that son of a gun, he had to find a way to start Killian Hayes over Jaden Ivey. And coming into the season, I think there was a lot of expectation that we might do something. In our first 3 games of the year, we won 2 out of the 3, and we damn near were 3-0. It's crazy to think about what this season turned into, and we all know what it is. The Detroit Pistons won 14 games. They lost 28 games in a row. Kind of feels like therapy saying it, It's like, damn, we really came from that. This was the definition of basketball purgatory. Monty evidently did not want to coach in the NBA, but couldn't say no to the money. And the way he coached his team was a direct reflection of that. It's a shame what Monty Williams did to this organization. He may have set us back so far, but in the same breath, what he forced our guys to go through. Our guys, we've been together, we've gone through hell and back. This 23-24 season, again, just looking at the names of the roster, really, really incredible that we fielded some of these guys. Obviously, the season had an optimistic start, and we had a pretty solid starting five. Jalen Duren stepped into a full-time starting role. Isaiah Stewart's at the 4. Really, really exciting stuff. But obviously, that would very soon change. And then obviously the season would end up with guys like Jalen Noel, Mike Muscala, Shake Milton, Joe Harris, Taj Gibson, Fournier, Gallinari, Malachi Flynn, Mr. 50-piece himself. I said that months beforehand the season's turned into waiting for a draft pick, but this was we knew early on into the season that it's all going to be about the draft pick again. But there's a point where the fatigue hits with the draft picks and you say, I don't want them anymore. And our backs were against the wall. There was nothing to do anymore. We were considering restarting the restart. We thought, okay, maybe none of the pieces we have work, and we got to do this again. And the last 4 or 5 years of Troy Weaver were an absolute waste of time. And while that conclusion could potentially still be made by a certain group of Pistons fans, it can't be made anymore because some of the players that Troy drafted obviously are still on this roster, and there is a long-term impact of that, although it is overshadowed by the negative. I think one of the most famous moments of the season was Cade saying, "We're not this bad. We're not 28 in a row bad." I think there was a lot of media hype, a lot of talk about getting Cade out of Detroit. Oh, poor Detroit. Free Cade. Restarting the restart. Obviously, Killian playing over Jaden Ivey was perhaps the most blood boiling point for all Pistons fans. But like every season, the season came to an end, and it was a season to forget. And it is without a question that this season will forever be the worst season in Detroit Pistons history. It is ranked dead last in the decade, without a doubt on my list right here, leaving only one spot left. And that's number one. And without a doubt, the 2024-25 season, this season past, has to be the greatest season of the past decade, and arguably, most likely, a lot more than that. Though we had two playoff teams in the decade prior to this one, and obviously one very exciting one where we won also 44 games with Andre Drummond, Reggie Jackson, KCP, taking Cleveland to four, only to four really close games, as aforementioned in this podcast, and as we all know. But I think we can all sense that the 44 win group that got swept by Cleveland compared to this 44 win group that played one hell of a series against the Knicks has a lot more potential. And it all started with the hiring of JB Bickerstaff. I think we were all kind of like, yeah, okay, decent. And perhaps that's what we needed. JB Bickerstaff came in and just instantly created a culture. An extremely famous preseason quote of his has said, "Come February, March, you're gonna know what Detroit basketball is." And it didn't take that long for us to realize that. This was the biggest year for the Pistons. Cade Cunningham took a huge step after having his back against the wall. I can only imagine his situation. Everyone's telling him, hey, get out of Detroit, free Cade. The year before that, you only played 12 games. The year before that, you don't have the rookie year that you probably would have wished you had. His back is against the wall, and he comes out as an extreme leader. I'm not going to talk about the statistics right now. We'll get right into that. But the leadership qualities, the personality quality of Cade Cunningham really, really shined before the season even began. And I credit JB Bickerstaff for getting that out of him, challenging him to be that leader, to be that person. On a scale, it feels like LeBron James. And that is absurd to say, obviously. But the impact that Cade has, not just to himself and to winning and being selfless, but the impact he has for his team, knowing where his teammates are, knowing what his teammates want, always being able to stay positive after starting next to Killian Hayes every single game he's played in prior to this season. Cade Cunningham took that step to be that leader. And obviously the results showed. He ended up 26, 6, and 9 over the course of the season. One of the greatest Pistons seasons in a long time. And what this does is set up for exciting years to come. We really hope that if we were to include this upcoming 25-26 season, you can put that back down. You can move this season to number 2, as hopefully we have a bigger season next year after the impressive triple win, after we tripled our win tally from 14 to 44 wins, winning 2 playoff games. It really just set us up for the exciting years to come. Uncle T, Tobias Harris was signed over the offseason, and again, cannot understate his impact that he had on this organization. My favorite moment of this season is an image of Tobias Harris mean mugging. Just the greatest thing ever. I love an Uncle T mean mug. Never would have expected, especially with the money we paid him, how happy we would be to have Tobias Harris here. But JB Bickerstaff and Trajan Langdon, I guess I want to note Trajan Langdon came in this summer, and that's another huge reason why we're at the 24-25 season right now at number 1. And we're not talking about it at any other point during this podcast. The years of Troy Weaver, Monty Williams, they're done. And we've moved forward. We now have JB Bickerstaff and Troy Weaver in charge. And based on the 1 year, the tripling of the win tally, which has never been done before, we seem in really, really good hands, despite some circumstances, with players like Malik Beasley. What a season. Obviously, you have to acknowledge that it's agonizing, losing Ivy, losing Stu for the playoffs. But again, it just sets us up for the excitement for the years to come. I want to note with Trajan Langdon, he continues to do great work. 14 out of 15 roster spots now taken after this morning. The Pistons signed Javonte Green, who's kind of been around the NBA a little bit now. Extremely athletic, extremely hard-nosed, defensive-minded guard. 7-foot wingspan on his 6'4" frame. In Chicago, he was often found guarding 4s with how many guards that the Bulls had this last season. I think this is going to be really exciting. And just, again, not an exciting, like, jumping off the walls pickup, perhaps similar to on a different scale when we hired Bickerstaff. But I think there will be a solid impact from Javonte Green this coming season. So, guys, those were our top seasons of the last decade, which included 11 NBA seasons, not 10. Apologies for the technical difficulties. Thanks for hanging in with us. Let us know just anything over the last decade. We love to hear about our fans, obviously, but hearing about Pistons seasons of the past, hearing about the Pistons, especially over the summer, when that offseason just feels so agonizingly long with a lack of basketball. We got to wait a few more weeks for those Euros to pick up. We can watch ex-Pistons Simone Fontecchio represent Italy. And just to recap then, where we have our seasons ranked 1 through 11 in our last decade of basketball here for the Pistons. To go over it, going to go from the bottom up, from 11 up to 1. Worst season, the 2023-24 season. Talked about it enough, never want to have to think about it again. Shortly followed by the 22-23 season and the 21-22 season. We did it, guys. We're out of this basketball rut. Then the season became so much more fun. Somewhat more fun, I should say. My 8th favorite season of the last decade was the 2016-17 season. In 7, I have the 19-20 season. Shout out to Christian Wood. The 17-18 39-win Pistons were my 6th favorite team, where we acquired Blake Griffin and narrowly missed the playoffs. In 5th place was the 14-15 Pistons for me. This was the year Brandon Jennings went down, but this was also the year we saw how fun Brandon Jennings was. The 2021 season was my 4th favorite season, based on us solely turning a new leaf and embracing the tank and youth. The 15-16 season, the Piston team that won 44 games and fought a hard series with the NBA champions of the year, the Cleveland Cavaliers, are my 3rd place team. The 41-win team in 18-19, with Blake Griffin at the helm, is my 2nd favorite team. Too many iconic memories like Blake Griffin's 50-piece and the and one. That really got it up there. But of course, guys, the best season in the history, that's excessive. The best season we've had in the last decade and in a long, long, long time was the 24-25 season. We're so excited for the years to come. Let us know what you guys think about your favorite seasons of the last decade, or any random moments, random players that we feel that you loved. Let us know, guys. Interact with us. But throw the Buffs on, Detroit, because the future is bright.